Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I had to restart the live. It was acting up. Welcome to Breaking Keyfabe on the Shadow City podcast. I am your host, Larry. Wait upon my guests. I tagged her, so let's hope this works like it did with Hybrid. Gosh, I don't want to have to use my plan B. Welcome, Peter Law. Welcome. He's been here for quite a few of these. Hope you're well, Peter. Welcome, Taylor. Taylor T of Wrestling with Pride. Oh, hello, Ruby. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Yes, I can. Hello.
How's it going? How's it going?
It's going good. I'm just trying to get this thing looking stable. Oh my lord. Oh, I'm just gonna
Yes,
hold it. I think I'll just hold it to be
technology is
safer.
never our friend.
No, it definitely is not.
But we won't be able to see each other for some reason. It does not like it always does a black screen for both of us. But after the video, it will show our faces. But then people that are watching us can see us. We just can't see each other.
Good. No worries.
And you are the current general manager of Wrestling with Pride, and I believe you are the former commissioner or also commissioner.
I think there's a promotion, if you will. Just a change of role, as it were. But yes, I'm currently the general manager of Wrestling with Pride, which is weird.
And you've also been an announcer for Dropkick Championship Wrestling for the IWF Grand Slam show. You were also CCW's announcer. You've also announced for Alba Championship Wrestling. And did you announce for DWA?
That was one of the first places I ever actually did a match a long, long time ago. But yes, we're well informed.
Welcome, Sam Craig, and Taylor T is here, and Peter Law is here. Evening to you too, Taylor.
Aye, I knew he'd be watching. Oh,
And
that's bizarre.
so being an announcer, how has that experience been being a part of the wrestling world?
Well, how it came about was back in 2016. I decided at the grand old age of 30 to. Oh, that was a really good idea. Technology does not like me today. I decided at the grand old age of 30 to give wrestling training a try. Because I thought, well, if I don't do it now, I never will. And I don't want to regret it when I'm 40. And I tried it for about a year. It didn't work out because it turned out I'm terrified of taking a bump. So I tried other parts. I've been a camera person. I've been very briefly a valet, I suppose, manager. That was about 10 years ago. And then I tried everything else, bar wrestle or referee. And I thought, well, what else haven't I done? And I thought, well, I'm a mouthy beggar on the quiet, so why not give announcing a crack? So I got in touch with, I recorded myself doing, which at the time was quite a well-known, lengthy announcement. Sent it to a few people for some feedback, and the rest is history. So, yep.
And I had no idea you worked a camera. What was that experience like with camera?
Oh, it was fun at the time. I learned I could run backwards quite quickly with the camera strapped to me, so that came in handy. Especially when you've got the likes of Ewan G. Mackey and Jam Dog chasing after you, which was fun times.
They were chasing after you, or they tried to chase each other and you just happened to be there?
They were chasing me like as part of their entrance. I was running backwards and they were running towards me to. I don't know whether they were trying to just put me off, but they're sweethearts. I do love them very much.
And you've also been. You said you were a valet. I had no idea you were a valet. How was that being a valet, and who did you accompany?
It was here in South Shields, where I'm from. It was for a lovely, lovely friend of mine called Rabbit, aka Jamie Harvey, who is currently, I don't know whether he's a manager, owner at Almost Pro Shield Pro Wrestling. And what happened was is it started off as a pun joke. I was at one of their shows and I knew he was a big, big Finn Balor fan. And I made the joke about him having the Bulletproof Bunny Club because he was Rabbit. And not a month later, there was me and this other girl were all face painted up, and we went out with him for about 3 months. And that was the first time I ever got to experience being on a show, and it was utterly terrifying at the time.
Okay. Welcome, Joshua Thomas. Welcome, and welcome, Sam Craig. Welcome. Now, you said DWA was the first place you ever worked at. You want to tell us what your experience was like there, for how long they lasted, and maybe tell us if you know, like, why they shut down?
Well, what happened with them was initially they only ever ran for, I think it was three shows. I think they eventually ran for, and I was part of, in some capacity, all 3 of them. The first one I was on camera for the whole video, the whole show. Fun experience that was. It was felt like it was 30 degrees in the venue, and I nearly passed out. So that was a fun day. The second one I think was I want to say like Halloween time, and that was my first ever matches were done there. That was just the pre-shows, a couple of matches. 4 guys all came down from ICW, and funnily enough, 2 of them went on to be I think it was Square Go winners and like ICW heavyweight champions, which was pretty wild. And then on the very last ever show at Christmas time, I announced the whole thing. So that was my first ever full show. Definitely it wasn't the best experience. I won't not like you there in the end. It was to be, what's the word I'm looking for here? To be diplomatic about it, it wasn't the most well-run place, and everybody knew it. And after it was gone, it was a case of thank goodness. So, yeah, we're kind of glad that one didn't last. But it was a foot in the door, so to speak. So, yeah, it served its purpose. Let's put it that way.
And you've also done announcing work for CCW at a time. Want to tell us what your time was like there?
I did, yes. So after the time at DWA, I'd had a bit of time out. There was a couple of other gigs that I'd been booked for, unfortunately fell through. And it did kind of put us off for a while, until, Lordy, I did briefly come back, not as an announcer, but as an interviewer in 21. And then that died a death. And then in 2023, again, much like in 16, I had if I don't do it, if I don't try now, I will regret it. And I had some friends who I'd known for years, namely Colin Barker, the owner of Dropkick. I'd known him since 2016, and he was involved with CCW at the time. So I thought, I'll try and get a word in, see if they need, even if it's just for one match, and then I can say I did it, and if that's it, then so be it. And here we are 3 years later.
Now, also for CCW, you said you did some interviewing. How is that different from just doing straight up announcing?
Well, the interviewing wasn't actually at CCW. That was before then. Oh. So the interviewing thing was with a place in Newcastle called Prime. They were, again, I knew some people that were involved in setting that up. But unfortunately, this was very early 2020. So you can imagine what happens next. Obviously, COVID happened, and the first slated shows, of course, couldn't happen because of lockdown and restrictions. And when they eventually came back in 2021, late September 21, I was their backstage interviewer. I think originally it was possibly going to be like broadcast for TV. It don't believe that ever happened. If it did, I never saw it. Um, but it was an experience. Some of the names that they had that, in their younger days that I got to work with, like, for example, Leon Slater, which, Dan Maloney, even some of the names that they had there and still do to this day is wild, that I just got to, have a little bit of time with them, work with them, ask them questions about the business and whatnot, which was, it was valuable experience. I'll give them that. Yeah, that's why this is so weird for me, because I'm not used to being on the host side of things instead of being this side of it. So it is a bit weird in a good way.
It's definitely an experience for some people. I've noticed this also. This is sometimes new for people, so I'm glad you told me this was your first ever time being like interviewed in general.
It is, which is super weird. But at the same time, as you said, it's all experience, isn't it?
Hmm. And you were telling me how for Dropkick you were there to be the announcer for the first IWF show.
Um, I, yeah, so what happened was before Grand Slam for IWF last year, they had kind of like exhibition matches at some Dropkick shows, just to sort of give the people a little bit of a taster of what IWF was going to be. It wasn't the very first one, granted, because unfortunately I was quite ill at the time. I think it was May last year. I happened to be in the area where the Dropkick show was going to be. I said, "Do you need me?" And it was just that one. And it sounds bizarre, because I'd been announcing for the better part of what, goodness me, like almost 2 years back at that point. And
Wow.
I don't think I felt that nervous in a good long while. Like, coming into something so new, it it felt like being new all over again. Mad as that might sound.
And you've also done announcing work for Alba.
Indeed, I have. Yes, that was again the connections thing. I've known Jam Dog for years, probably since I first started going to shows. Um, Goodness me, 12 years ago, and he'd asked us if I happened to be free for a couple of dates they needed someone for, and checked my diary, and luckily I was. And I think they've had me up there 3 times now, very soon to be 4 actually, because I'm going back up there in August after a nice 2-year hiatus, which is lovely. I cannot wait to see everyone.
And you do have another thing coming up in August, which we will talk about here soon after I get some of these questions out of the way for announcing. And Taylor said, been a long time coming. Her knowledge in the business is incredible.
Thank you. Perks of being in and around it for a decade.
Now, when you were announcing the first time, how did it feel? And do you remember the match that you announced for?
um, so the first match I ever did, so it wasn't the first time I actually announced someone to the ring. That was a few months prior. The first, yeah. So the way it started, Tom Campbell, very, very, is a good friend of mine, and he was hosting the pre-show at North Wrestling at the time in Newcastle, and he was one of the people that approached for help and advice on how to sort of be an announcer. Was there anything I could improve on what I'd shown him already? And he did give us some really helpful tips. And the next thing I know, he knew I was going to be at the next North show, which happened to be July. I think it's, my goodness, 8 years ago now. And he said, "Would you like to introduce me on the pre-show?" And that was my very first time introducing anyone, which was terrifying, because I know how brutal the North crowd can be, having been part of it. But the first match I ever did with a couple of guys down from ICW was, if I remember rightly, keep getting the two matches mixed up because it's so long ago, was either Kez Evans versus Cousin Sander of the Govan team. used to be teaming with Ravy Davey from ICW, or Leighton Buzzard, and oh my goodness, I do actually, this sounds awful, but I forget who he was facing. His is just the face that I actually remember seeing. But I think it was the Kes Evans match, and I've never been so terrified in my life, stood backstage waiting to do that. And I'd done all the research. I'd asked the lads for their intros before I went out there. And I could just remember my hand was shaking like that, holding the microphone. I thought, oh God, this isn't going to be good. But luckily, it was a small-ish crowd. So if you're going to mess up in front of a crowd, at least it was a small one. And yeah, it went by in a bit of a blur. And the next thing I know, my bit in the show is done. And I am sitting back and watching the rest of it, which was bizarre at the time.
Crazy experiences all around, and how you were saying how people were telling you to like how to announce them, whether it was wrestling or management. How do they come up to you and ask you specifically for like how you announce them? Can you give us like an example?
So, be honest with you, in my experience, I've approached the talent and so if I'm working with, say, I don't know, like say Hybrid, for example, first time I was working with them, I would have gone up with them and said, how would you like me to introduce you? Is there anything in particular you'd like us to say? Like, do you use name, location, weight? You tell me what you want, and I'll go with it. And what I did a couple of years ago now, and this was more to help me, was I got a very large book that a lot of them know now. I call it the Book of Doom. And what I've done is it's an A to Z of all the introductions, and I keep a track of them now. So in the majority of cases, when I'm working with people now, I'll just ask them, is it the same intro? Is it, and I'll rattle off what their intro was the last time I worked with them. If anything's changed, they let me know. And then I update the book. So my, record of all their intros is being kept up to date constantly.
Okay. Now, and when it comes down to it, if you could tell us, favorite people that you've had an honor of announcing, if you could give us like a rundown.
Oh, wow. I would say, and this is absolutely no disrespect to anybody I work with regularly, by the way. A lot of them will be like the big one-offs, the ones are never going to be repeated or are very unlikely to be repeated. Would be Johnny Storm. I got to work with him quite early on, and he was a sweetheart because he was actually my last trainer. My last training day ever was a seminar with him, so it was nice to have that full circle moment. Jordan Oliver. I was lucky enough to, on my very first show in Scotland, I was lucky enough to get to work with him, which is again bizarre because I've got friends who are very big GCW fans in Jersey, and a friend of mine's actually related to somebody that works regularly with him. So that was bizarre how my sort of more personal side of my life comes together with the professional, which is weird, very small world moment that. Trying to think. I would have probably said, again, it's not from the announcing side of things, I probably would have said again, Leon Slater. Getting to interview him back at Prime. That is because he was so young at the time. He was only 17 when I worked with him.
Wow.
And then seeing where he is now, I almost feel like a proud mom. Watching how he's grown and elevated himself is amazing. Oh God.
Right.
Yes,
Haley
I do.
says you do a cracking announcement of him.
Oh God, you know what I do? Where I tend to use for Taylor is the very first person I ever announced to the ring was Tom Campbell. So what I did for him was I call it my Billy Kirkwood impression. So if you've ever seen Billy Kirkwood. No, it's not Billy Kirkwood. Simon Cassidy. Simon Cassidy, the announcer up at ICW. When I was introducing Tom, and I only did it once in the ring, and then I did it from backstage, so no one saw me, but everyone knew it was me. I'd give it big licks. I'd give it, ladies and gentlemen, here's your host for A Question of North. And I can't say it because it's pre-9 p.m. But it used to be, here's Tom effing Campbell, and I gave it some welly, and I'd use the same kind of setup for if I've ever gone announced Taylor.
Okay. It's Taylor True, like you say, it's Taylor T.
It's whatever he wants. Whatever he wants me to announce him as, I will say it. as long as it's PG or non-PG where appropriate.
Okay. Welcome, Natty. Welcome. Now, when you were starting in this, as an announcer, was there any mentors that helped you with your announcing?
So there was predominantly Tom Campbell initially. He's been a huge help. I did also ask a couple of other people for help initially. There was Stevie Aaron, who's doing the oh my god, its name's completely escaped me right now. There's a bit of a tour going on over here in the UK where football is being mixed with wrestling, and I think Stevie's working with them. He used to work with What Culture and Defiant when they were existing, and I did ask him for some tips as well. And also, well, you'd probably know more as a wrestler, Simon G. Money. But again, I know him from pre-announcing days, so he was very good at that as well, because he's a bit of an actor and a bit of a comedian on the quiet. So I thought anybody who is in that kind of role, who I've seen work, that I think I could ask for. I did ask for, and Tom predominantly has been a big support sort of throughout the years, and I'm chuffed to see sort of how well he's doing these days, which is very much well deserved and overdue in my opinion.
Awesome. Now, do you want to tell us the advice that they have given you, like that you still use today?
I'll be honest with you, a lot of the early stuff's kind of way over my head now. The more recent tips he's given us, because he did actually come to Grand Slam last year, which was again terrifying for two reasons. And the first one you already know, because I know I mentioned it in the comments of the show when you had Dagon on. I mentioned that Grand Slam last year was the first time a family member had actually come to see me announce. So my dad was there, which was terrifying, because again, it was the first time family was there, and Tom was there as well. So it was a bit like having, like that teacher that you really respect coming to watch you do the thing they've taught you to do. And it was terrifying. And the one tip I remember him messaging me about afterwards was, pull the microphone back away from your mouth a little bit. You don't need to have it so close. You're loud enough on your own. It's like, thanks, Tom. That's the one that stuck with us ever since, for the last year.
Okay. Now, how do you prep for announcing?
In terms of like the notes, or in terms of the actual vocal?
Well, just in general, right before a show, how do you prep? How do you get ready to go out there, and you're preparing to go out there, and then maybe before the next matchup, after the matchup's done, how do you prepare between that and before?
So before a show, night before or morning of, depending on when I can find the time to do it, is, and this probably might sound a little bit of a bad idea if you're going to try and use your voice a lot the following day, is I adore karaoke. I absolutely adore it. So I use karaoke, or just having a bit of a sing to myself in the house, as exercise beforehand. Okay. A little bit sometimes maybe at a venue as well, if I can find a quiet a space to be alone for a minute or two. Between matches, I'm more I'm doing two things. I'm watching the match that's going on, and I'm looking at my notes for the next match just to make sure that one, they're ready, and two, is there anything I'm missing? If there's anything missing, I will dash backstage to get what I'm missing from whoever's meant to be in the next match. Or if something's changed, quickly get the changes sorted out before the match that's actually actively going on is over. So I'm not panicking or winging it too much. Like, yeah, I would say that's the long and short of it.
Welcome the King of Chaos, Wes Grimm. Welcome, brother. Welcome, Brian Chaplow, the Imperial referee. He says evening, and welcome Alistair Stenson, also known as Alfie Jackson. And Taylor says he does the same. To what you said.
Yeah, I keep making the joke that we might as well be twins. But yeah, him and me we are very very similar in, you say, personality and sort of the way we work. It's probably why we get on so well. Yeah, it's been a wild ride the last few years, and long may it continue.
And yeah, he did state that you guys are basically brother and sister at this point.
Well, to be fair, we are only 3 weeks apart. It's his birthday this week. Well, let's see how old. A lady never tells.
And you set the tone before the bell actually rings. Now, when you're doing announcing, is there a different way you do it compared to like when you're opening the show compared to like going into like the middle of the card to the end of the card, would you say? Or do you think your energy is always the same each one?
So obviously beginning of the show you've got to give it big energy, so you've got to keep getting the people going. Obviously there's like not so much house rules, but there's things obviously you've got to remember. See, you got to like hype the matches, hype the show, try and have a little bit of banter with the crowd if there's banter to be had. And again, I don't know whether it's probably a bad idea, but I have a tendency to like use like sport and things that are going on, like for example like when the World Cup's been on, whenever we're doing shows in Sunderland, I'll have cracks about the football. Just again, it gets the crowd interaction going. So it's knowing the audience and knowing how to get them going. See, with a lot of the crowds it is sort of in my area, so that is relatively speaking quite easy. Terrifying, but easy. It's when you go to places like Alba, obviously in Scotland, and you know who knows where I'll end up in the future. If it's away from my sort of home area, that's going to be the challenge, is how do I tackle those crowds? See, I'll try and keep things as obviously professional as possible, of course. But opening show, big energy, gotta be, get the crowd going. Like, if you've ever seen any clips of us working, you know what I'm like at the beginning of a show. Loud, just get them going. Matches, again, if there's a story to be told beforehand, like if there's been build to something, then that'll get summarized, but I'll word it in my own way, bring a bit of humor into it if I can, if it's appropriate, and then keep people hyped ahead of an interval. We've still got so much more to come, all that kind of thing. And then when you come back, I'll have a bit of play with them, if you will, like getting the kids to say, have you been to the merch stand with all your mum and dad's money? Are the kids all hyped up? Has there too much sugar? Have the grown-ups been there? Having a bit of a tipple there? Are you all a little bit drunk? And it's just having a bit of fun with them, and it gets them engaged and it gets them going. So it works as far as I can tell.
That's awesome. Welcome, Prince Dagon is here, and Taylor said, I have to sleep for work. Love you, Ruby. Thanks, Brandon, for giving her the spotlight as she bloody deserves it. She works tirelessly to support me and wrestling with pride. I have no doubt there, Taylor, and I'm always happy to give the spotlight to anybody. It's all about the people that I interview, and I'm interviewing Ruby, and this is her time. So it's all about her.
Still so weird.
I like to give all you guys that come on the Breaking Keyfabe to your guys' shine and say whatever you guys would like to say. And it's an honor that you guys even give me the time of day to do so. I'm always grateful for that.
It's nice to be this side of the the job for once. But you see, I had my own podcast for a brief while last year, which was again a whole new thing for me. I hadn't been an interviewer in a hot minute, and getting to be sort of one-on-one with somebody with no crowd there was wild. But it worked for its brief moment, and you never know, it might come back one day.
I was actually going to speak to you about your podcast and what's going on with that. Do you think you could tell us how that begun and what brought that about, and when you think you're going to be up and running again soon?
Well, I think how it come about is it was just something that Taylor wanted to try to sort of branch out Wrestling with Pride's content when we first sort of started as Wrestling with Pride. And I thought, well, it's something I've never done before, so why not give it a try? And I know I've had 4 guests on it. I remember who all 4 of them are, and I'm sure it was Eddie Jade first, if I remember rightly. And it was good to have someone I was sort of very quite friendly with on as the first guest. There was obviously a certain degree of, again, preparation. There was some questions that stayed the same throughout, which, granted, obviously I was very nervous and consciously aware of, is this too much of the same? Is it engaging enough? Is the ones that I'm customizing to the guest enough to, again, keep people engaged? But the only reason it sort of took a bit of a break, I was on holiday. I went on holiday with my mum last year, and there was just going to be a lot on, and we just decided to take it a break for a while, and there just hasn't been the right time for it to come back ever since. Real life and obviously shows and whatnot, it's never been the right time to bring it back. But we shall see. Watch this space is all I'll say there.
Oh, I hope we get back soon. And personal life is always important. So that's what I say. Just keep your personal life done first and focus on that before anything else.
Definitely.
Now, as announcer, do you have to follow any rules that the fans may not know about, or anything you would like to tell them that they don't know about announcing?
I suppose a lot of it depends on what the promoter wants. So some promoters may give you a lot more creative license than say others would. A lot of people have the format that they like, and that is completely fine. I'm doing what they want. I'm a mouthpiece for the show that I'm on. If I've got some creative license to see what needs to be said, but in my own way, then amazing. Still terrifying because my brain just doesn't quite work that quick sometimes. I always ask the promoter nowadays, so now I'm a bit more into it, and now I'm a bit more consciously aware of making sure that I'm doing what people want. I'm more consciously aware of asking promoters, okay, what is it that you want from me? Obviously, besides being loud and announcing your matches, is there anything in particular that you want from me? I'm more consciously aware of taking the promoter's wants and needs into account before I do anything else. So, I mean, there hasn't been anywhere new that I've been in a while. Not since, of course, Imperial and Wrestling with Pride starting up. But I knew everybody there already. So it was a bit more relaxed, I suppose, in a sense. There wasn't the same terrified anticipation of new people, new place, what's going to happen here. There wasn't that same fear of starting somewhere entirely new. So I think a lot of it's just being respectful to who you're working for and what they want, at least in my opinion anyway.
Okay. Now, for who have been the hardest and the easiest names to announce to like hardest names to announce, who would that be from the easiest to hardest names?
Oh, easiest. Oh, that's a good one, that one. I'm trying to think because there's so many over the years.
Which ones have you maybe gotten on the spot like right away and then the hard is
Oh,
probably gonna be
right.
ones that you can get like
The
right
ones that you know
away.
you're gonna mess up consistently no matter what.
Yeah.
There was one, and it's funny. I was just talking to Taylor about this the other night. Um, this is again long time ago, and I only ever worked with them once. This is back at Darlington or DWA. Was you may have heard of him, HT Drake.
Oh.
Very well known. He's very well known in the Northeast scene. He's a bit of a gatekeeper, if you will, and he's one of those people you go to for advice if you need advice, especially as a wrestler. He's very good at what he does. His was customized for that one night. I'd heard his announcement many times in other places, both from Tom, from Steve, Stevie Aaron, that is, and that night, because this was the last DWA show, he was facing Ravy Davy, and because Ravy Davy's whole gimmick is that he's a bit of a chav. He's a bit of a Ned, as they would call them in Glasgow. HT Drake's intro would normally have been something along the lines of he's the gimmick killing, crowd thrilling king of Geordie strong style, which is fine. That flows quite well. But for that one, he added in an extra line. It was, and this is why I still remember it, because it was such a pain at the time to remember, was he is the gimmick killing, crowd thrilling, Ned grilling king of Geordie strong style. Proper tongue twister. That is, it was the first full show. I hated that at the time, but now it sticks with us as a memory because it was, it was one of those. Easiest is anybody who just wants the name said. Like if somebody wants to say, or very basic, hailing from, I don't know, let's say Southampton. This is, and then say their name. Those I like because they're so easy. It's so easy. You can give it proper welly, then, as we would say up here. I'm trying to think of someone really specific. Well, a good example is Alfie Jackson, funnily enough. Until quite recently, he used to go by the Prodigy, Alfie Jackson. And now, if he's on his own, he is one half of the Detriment, Alfie Jackson. So his is quite simple to remember. I see Asylum is being invited into the comments there. His I adore, because Asylum was actually on my first ever full show, and he's a big guy. He's a bit of he's a big dude. His announcement has been the same, near as for the whole time I've known him. I remember him being concerned that announcers and referees at the time didn't sell the fact he was a big monster much. So me being me, thank you, drama qualification, I hid behind the referee when he come out. He just death glared us, and I was like, I didn't say it was him. Please don't hurt me. And it give him as a character a bit of a, oh god, he's a big scary dude. He might eat the children in the front row. That kind of sort of boost at the time, which was great fun. So I do love working with Asylum.
You were putting over his character by showing how scary he was.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some people that certainly said, like this one we've had at Imperial, a guy called Sweeney, or Sadistic Sweeney. He comes out in a straitjacket, and when he's in the ring, he's just going off on one. He's like shriek laughing, he's headbutting the turnbuckle pads, and I'm just kind of standing there looking at him like, what's this guy on his heel? I'm slightly scared. So even it might not ever get caught on camera. So this one's more so for the live crowd. If it makes it that bit more impactful, that what is this guy on? He's an absolute lunatic. If it makes it more fun for the live crowd, then it's totally worth it every single time.
Most indeed. So how do you react to Nate Sawyer?
I adore his intro. I know there's 4 lines to it, but there's one of them I can never remember when I'm trying to recall it off the top of my head. But there's one line of his intro when when I first got told what it was, I looked at it and I went, I know what I'm going to do with this one, and I didn't tell him beforehand because he used to have I suppose, a manager who was a bit of a redneck, and you'll know exactly who he is. He used to talk in a very stereotypical sort of redneck style accent, like he always used to talk with a southern drawl like that. It's a terrible impression, but you get my point.
I know what you mean, though.
Well, one of the lines of his intro is, and he's always Mama Sawyer's baby boy. So instead of just saying it in my natural accent, I would say the other three parts of his intro, which is something like, he's the devil in human skin, he's the backwoods slasher. There is a third one, but I can't recall it off the top of my head right now. But the last one is always, and Mama Sawyer's baby boy, because it makes it sound, holy crap, he's like something out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this guy. What?
Yeah.
It makes it sort of a bit more personal. There's a couple of people I've done sort of more tailored style-wise announcements for. A lot of them don't get them done anymore because they have changed their sort of character. But I'll take any chance I can get to have a bit of fun with it.
That's awesome. Now, when you are at a show, what would you say a typical show day is like from when you arrive to when you leave? And how are your vocals?
At the beginning of the day, surprisingly to me, like a lot of the morning of a show and even the early afternoon before I arrive at a venue, I try, unless I'm having a bit of vocal exercise, as I mentioned earlier, I will try not to speak as much as I can to sort of give it a bit of rest before the show. When I get there, it's usually the usual rounds of saying hello to everybody. How's everyone doing? Checking if anything's changed, if I can find it out beforehand. But then it's just a case of just watching people running through the matches, making sure I've got everything ready and getting myself ready, like just getting my makeup on, which isn't much because it's not about me. Is just getting my makeup on so I'm ready to go. Come like sort of curtain up, and that's it. And afterwards, again, for example, if I'm on my own, and because if Taylor's there at Imperial, he will sometimes do our main events. So if he's not there, of course, I'm doing the full show. So I see main events, they deserve the impact that they're going to get. So they tend to be that little bit louder. And by the end of the night, if I'm not worried that I'm going to have no voice in the morning, then we've got a problem. That's the kind of the attitude I take. I can't do that too much because the day job, I do use my voice a lot at my day job. So I've got to be careful to a certain extent, but I know I can pull the voice back, no problem, majority of the time.
Okay. Now, when you're announcing, have you ever had a time where you were announcing and something happened that you did not know was going to happen, whether it be somebody interrupting you, somebody going off script? How did you handle the situation if you did have experience like that?
The only ones I think I've ever really had like that has been, I've had the odd sort of interruption. I have had the mic stolen off me a couple of times. It's majority of the time it's never not been off script for something like that. I haven't ever known in advance what the person was going to say once they'd stolen the microphone. So a lot of that is in the moment reaction. Lordy. As for any other things happening, jump starts. I always ask now if there's going to be any jump starts because me getting out of the ring is an interesting. I hope nobody ever catches it on camera because I'm not very good at it. If I'm having to drop and get out of there as quick as possible, I am liable to hurt myself at some point in the probably none too distant future because this is pre-wrestling. The training didn't help. I've got ligament damage in my feet, so there are some times where it can cause some pain having to get out that quick, which is why I always ask beforehand so I'm at least nearest the side of the ring where it's safest for me to get out as quickly as possible without hurting myself. So if anything has to be done on the fly because it's not planned, then these things happen, and just got to try and be as safe as possible. But I do like to know for my own personal purposes if something like that's planned beforehand, so I'm at least prepared.
Okay, that's understandable. Do you want to tell us about maybe some moments on the mic?
So sorry, what was that? The line went a bit dead there for a second.
Favorite moments on the mic?
Ooh, favorite moments. I do love every time I get to see and new and really, really shout it for like a title change or a new champion for a new title. I love that. I absolutely love that. There has, of course, been a few sort of shocker or moments that I've had a suspicion were coming, like again title changes or heel turns. That again you suspected were coming, but you've got to react and like appropriately to sell the moment. So even though you know the person behind the character, and you know they're a lovely person and out of the character, sell how much of a disappointment it was. Like I'll give you a prime example. Spawn's a prime example. So a few months ago, Spawn turned on his family at Imperial, and again, I'm sat on the stage like completely. Cameras are never anywhere near me, which is part of what makes us wonder why I do it. But I'm sat there reacting as if I've got like commentary cam on me, like, oh no, what's going on here? Like really selling it and really selling the disappointment in something that's happened there. Like normally when I'm given an announcement of something on my glasses there. If I'm having to sell like a title change. So for example, if I was having to sell a title change between I'm trying to think of a good example here. So someone who's like a big face and someone who's a big heel that you really don't want them to win. The crowd's shocked and disappointed. You still got to give it the professional thing. You still got to say, and new. And then it's not flat, but it's always toned down a little bit. Whereas obviously when it's a big, hey, underdog or big face moment, full welly. Like give it full rah, as it were. I think probably one of my favorite ones, again in the last year, was Eddie Jade becoming the first ever Pride Revolution champion at Wrestling with Pride last year, just over a year ago, in fact, as of a couple of days ago. Getting to see his reaction to that moment and being there at ringside was chef's kiss. It was so good.
It's awesome. And so when these shocking moments you were talking about happening on the mic, do you not know who wins most of the time, or do you know who wins, or is there like where you just don't want to know?
Part of us wants to know. Part of us doesn't want to know. So the reactions can be pure. See, some things you do expect. Some do still catch you by surprise, but I try to make at least vocally, so at least what the people are hearing is more of a, oh wow, that is genuinely like a surprise, like acting out the surprise, if you will. I think I do a half decent job at that, I hope. But there's obviously some matches you do know what's going to happen. There's others you maybe don't know because it's meant to be a surprise for everybody, and I love those. But both love and hate them. I love them because your reaction to whatever's about to happen can be very, again, pure. But hate it because I'm thinking, I kind of want to know now. The child, you get that kind of childlike excitement about it. But you keep thinking, it's for the crowd, it's for the people. You don't get to cheat. They don't get to cheat. You don't get to cheat. So, shh.
Okay. Well said. Now, you want to tell us maybe some scary moments on the mic if you have any, like how you were saying how you put over guys by wondering what they're doing or hiding behind the referee? Like any scary moments on the mic other than those?
Um, I'm trying to think. I think some of them. Um, I did a few sort of grown-ups only shows. I haven't done one in a couple of years now, and as you can imagine, on an over 18s show, there is a lot of blood. So there's been some legitimately quite gross moments there, and any reactions I may have after matches when I'm doing, the winner is, and then saying names, they'll tend to be driven by what I've seen during the match. With sort of more family friendly shows, it's still very driven by what you've seen, but obviously a bit more PG. So I think scary moments wise were probably the most recent one that I can really think of, besides the likes of Persona popping out of a coffin. That was delightful. That was a whole ton of
Did
fun.
it like actually scare you? Were you like, ah, where'd you come from?
Not so much. It was the reaction from the crowd. I was like, "Holy hell!" That was loud. It was still, see, you see things working. You see things working on shows. You see a lot of what goes into putting those moments together. So to a certain extent, we know obviously a hell of a lot more of the script than the people think they know. But it's the reaction. When you hear the reactions in those moments, you think, that worked. That was beautiful. Like the screams of shock, the kids, even the parents and some of the grandparents that were there going absolutely crazy is incredible. It's here in those moments, you know the moment it's paid off. The build that these people, the creative, the performers, you know it's paid off in that moment, and it was all worth it. And that's what makes show days for me, is when you get those kind of reactions, those kind of you're expecting a reaction, but you never quite know exactly how a crowd is going to react to what they're about to see. So when you actually see it live, whew, it's good. It's really good.
That's awesome. Always good to hear. And any funniest botches on the mic you'd like to tell us about? You told us about that one a little bit earlier. Was there any other moments that come to mind that were like funny and just like out of nowhere, maybe?
Oh, there's been a few, most of which I have probably blocked out from my memory. They tend to be sort of tongue twisters, because let's face it, we all do it. Brains work faster than mouth does. Um, Usually, what I'll do is, if I know I've messed up, I'll kind of pause for a second, go hit it, rewind, and then like take the Mickey out of myself. So they can fair enough, inwardly, I am going, oh, you numpty, you really messed that up. But outwardly, I'm thinking, as long as they don't, you just keep going. Just keep. It's like I use what film's it from? Dory from Finding Nemo. The just keep swimming. I have that going in the back of my head a lot. So I'm thinking, if I know I've messed up, I'm thinking, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. Play it off. You made a boo boo, and just say, right, let's try that again. Take two. Daft little things like that. It gets a laugh, and then you just keep going. And then you can beat yourself up about it later until you're ready to let it go. But it happens. We all do it. It wouldn't be human if we didn't.
Most indeed, accidents happen. And welcome somebody you've talked about very highly on here, Asylum, aka Mick Wallace.
Yeah, I do love him. He's a sweetheart. Yes, I'm always going to love his intro. Parts unknown, 320 pounds. He is the monster. And then he's another one. It's not so much just because I know he's a big scary dude. it's the name. You know, like some people, Samantha Irvin's a bit of a more recent inspiration for me, like sort of the way she announced for when she was with WWE. I used to watch a lot of her bits back. Like I wouldn't be watching the matches, I'd be watching her, just for how she would tailor what she did to who she was speaking about, and it did have a little bit of an effect on the way I announce. Like prime example, Cora Moon, who's been with Wrestling with Pride. When I first got to know her character lent itself to the, again, if you've ever seen her do it when she was with WWE, the way Samantha Irvin used to announce Chelsea Green. They used to do the Chelsea Green thing. Well, I did that same style for Cora Moon until she had like a sort of bit of a character change and it didn't work for her anymore. That was good fun because there's not many people that the characters really sort of lend themselves to having something that vocally different from what I would normally do. And it's always fun to have that little bit to look forward to, that little very different sort of style of what you do.
Yeah. Understandable. Welcome pro wrestlers Zachariah Creed and Lauren Lockett, both talented competitors I would love to have on here someday. Mm-hmm. Always a spot for them. And is there something you want to tell the fans that they should know about you that they probably don't?
Apart from the fact that if I hadn't had the proverbial O, and I'm gonna keep it PG because it's pre 9 p.m. The O stuff it moment. If I hadn't had that O stuff it moment back in 2023, Ruby, as you know, I wouldn't exist. I mean, how it originally started, the comeback, as it were. Back in 23, I was having that. I was just past 23. I'm trying to think how old I was back then. I was about to turn 37 at the time, and I thought, I'm rapidly heading towards 40 here. This is something I need to know if I could make a go of this, and if it doesn't work out this time, then that's it. I'm done. There was a match announced for a show for CCW, and it was between two very good friends of mine, Jam and a guy called Kabi Kowalski. I've probably butchered the pronunciation of that, so Kabi, if I have, I'm sorry. Again, people that have been part of my sort of live show experience since day one. Like when I first started going to shows, they were some of the core guys that were around a lot. And I thought, them two facing off against each other, is that a sign? Is that? And I thought, you know what? Screw it. Let's get in touch. And I got in touch and I said, look, do you need somebody, even if it's just for that match? Because they're good friends of mine and I would just like to give it a go just one more time. And I said, well, how do you fancy doing the full show? I was like, oh God, I haven't done a show in 5 years nearly. What am I going to do? Proper freaked out at the time. I got asked, do you have a stage name? At the time I didn't. I went by my real name previously. And I thought, I can have one. Cool. So I thought, right, what would you call yourself? And I said, let us get back to you about that, because this was the promoter at CCW asking us this. I said, give me an hour, and if I can think of something, I'll let you know. And I had a bit of free time, so me being me, music is a big, if I need to think of something, get creative, I put music on. It's a big inspiration. And I put Spotify on random, and one of the first things that come up was Ruby by the Kaiser Chiefs. And that was it. That was the name. It made sense. It's a song that's a big favorite of my young nieces. And it just made sense. I was like, that's it. That's the one. And here we are, 3 years later.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard it on CCW, I believe, and then everybody was chanting "Ruby, Ruby, 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 Ruby," like all that.
Oh god, it blows my mind every time people do that. And now I've started. I always worry that it's going to look a bit not too like I've got too much of an ego about it, but when I come out to, I've got a slightly different version of the music now, um, thanks to DJB. Um, every time it gets to that bit, I know what at least some pockets of the crowd are going to do. And now, instead of just letting them do it on their own, I would say, you all know the words at this point, and then I'm holding the mic up in the air, and they're all going off it. And I'm like, even after 3 years, this still blows my mind that people do this. Every single time, it still blows my mind. And yeah, I absolutely love it.
Welcome, Ethan Sterling, also known as Ethan Dixon. Welcome, sir. Welcome. And he said, "Good evening, Ruby."
I don't know.
Now, for all the many of places you have announced for, can you tell us about some memorable venues that you've announced for, and that still like holds a place, and maybe places you want to go haven't to announce that, and yeah.
Um, oh, wow, venues. So the very first one I did when I came back was a massive venue. Like, I mean, huge. It was like a big. I forget what that actually was called, but the physicality of the actual venue itself. When you walk in, I'm I'm not the tallest person in the world. I'm quite short. So when I walked in there for the first time, I looked up. I was like, "This is huge. This is legitimately terrifying." And granted, I didn't get in the ring. Thank God that time because there was no ring steps available at the time, and I was absolutely terrified. I'd really brought the wrong shoes that day because I brought heels, and I can't walk well in heels anymore. That one was scary. The very first time I went to Scotland with Alba, the very first venue I went to with them, that was brilliant because the ceiling on it's very, very low. It makes me feel tall, put it that way. And I'm only 5'4". Um, so you can imagine what it was like for poor Jordan Oliver. he's he's practically touching the ceiling just standing up. Um, that was a good one. I see everywhere we've been sort of with Imperial and of course and wrestling with Pride, like Biker is our home, and I love it. But another one that always sticks out because I was only there once, was the venue that I did the match for IWF, but at the Dropkick show in Billingham. It's church-like in its makeup. It's absolutely beautiful inside, and great for acoustics. Put it that way. So those ones always stick with me, and luckily I get to go back to the Alba one in August, because that's where no, I'm not going there. No, it's a new venue for Alba. It's actually in Glasgow. I'm getting the shows mixed up. The one that I'm going to for Alba next month, God, it's next month, my goodness, is right near a very favourite football ground of mine. It's right near Celtics ground, so I'm really looking forward to that. Somewhere new again to get used to acoustics wise. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Welcome, Raina Black, also known as the Tribal Cheeks. There's still that spot on the pod for you. And Ethan said, "How are you doing, Ruby?"
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just cracking on doing shows and cracking on doing the day job as well. Keeping everything nice and balanced. I like it.
Now, in your opinion, how has announcing evolved since you started?
Um, I think at its core, it hasn't changed that much. I'm still doing what I've been doing the whole time as much as humanly possible, giving it everything I've got, sometimes to my vocal cords detriment, um, for the people that I'm working for and with. But at its heart, I think there's a lot more. And again, I'm always worried about ego coming across too much here. I think there is a lot more awareness in certain circles, whether it be on the indie level, whether it be on a sort of more permanent professional level, of just what the sort of people who aren't the wrestlers do. So obviously the wrestlers, they are the heart of every show. There's no disputing that. But there's a lot more love being given to sort of roles like the referees, the commentary, the announcers, everybody, like the sort of the backroom people. And that sort of increase in sort of respect and awareness does it feels good. It feels good to sort of have that sort of change over the last few years. And on an announcer level, I think a lot of that for me personally comes down to the likes of, again, I keep bringing him up, Tom Campbell. So see, he is so vocal and sort of very open and advertises himself really, really well. And he's so humble about it as well. So I think that again has had a big influence on me. I try to be aware at all times of how I'm conducting myself, and I would always expect that if anybody has an issue with how I'm doing things, they'll come to us and they will tell me, look, there's a bit of an issue here. Fine, we'll work on that, no problem. And it's that sort of open discourse is a big improvement, I think, personally.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about memorable fan interactions that you've had?
Oh, and the one that still gets me to this day, and it's numerous occasions, and this has happened, is when you get little kids coming up to you afterwards who've been running around chasing all the wrestlers down, getting their posters and things signed, getting signed. The first time someone come up to me and said, "Could you sign this for us?" I'm like, you want me to sign it? What? That that blew my mind. The first time a kid wanted, I'm thinking, wait, have I got an autograph? I had to think of it. I think I had to think of an autograph, a signing style on the fly. I was like, oh God, I've never done this before. This is weird. And it like, very, again, warms your heart. That people even know who you are. I mean, I actually got recognised on a bus once on the way to a show. I was on a bus and I'd gotten off the bus, and the next thing I know, someone behind us was shouting, "Ruby, Ruby, Ruby." I was like, wait, hang on, who was that? And, hi, it's you! Like, yeah, I'm pretty hard to miss, mate. I'm pretty hard to miss. So, yeah,
That shows how much you've affected people. Like the affections that you've made for people, like they love you and like they're literally singing your name as you come out. Like, come on now.
It's one of them things that it's something that I never expected. And I think that's how I sort of keep myself in check, is I never expect that people want anything else from me than to be a mouth, a voice, the voice of the people that are saying. I don't ever expect that anybody wants anything more from me than that. And once that sort of got into my head a bit more than it may have done originally, like years ago, I think it has made sort of things a bit more comfortable to a certain extent. It's made it a bit more, this is my part, this is what I do, and that is perfect.
Awesome. Welcome, Unc Oatis, and welcome, Matthew Bell Simpson. Yes, I tagged your name, good sir. Here with Ruby.
Hello.
Now, if you had to give out advice somebody that wants to be an announcer, that like what you do, what advice would you give to?
It's funny, somebody did actually ask me for some not too long ago. If I had to be general one, put in the work, do the preparation, know when to accept criticism where it's warranted. If you're being unduly criticised for no reason, then of course you find the proper way to address that. And 3, I would say, don't be afraid to make an absolute idiot of yourself when the moment calls for it. This, don't sit into shoddy. God,
No,
there's a story behind that one. I think there's a story behind that. Obviously the third one would be know your role, but don't undermine it at the same time.
Okay. And Matthew, you saw the comment that Matthew said. That's why I was laughing. Don't sit in Taylor's shoddy camping chairs. So, do you want to tell us a story? Or are you not allowed to expose this?
No, it wasn't Taylor's shoddy camping chairs. We did a show, of course, in May. We did Pride Mania, which was a big one for us because it was the first time we'd ever done one outdoors. And it being an outdoor event, I came prepared. I brought a picnic, as it were, and I took it wasn't a camping chair, it was a stool. It's kind of a camping stool that compresses down into itself. So I'd set that up. I'd set it up next to commentary, which was lovely under a gazebo in the shade out of the sun. Still got burned. And I would do what I needed to do. Obviously, I wouldn't get in the ring because, again, there was no steps. But that was perfect for the day. I'd stand there, I'd do the announcement, the match would start, and I would prop myself up on this little stool. Gets past the first half, everything's all fine and dandy. I think it was about maybe a match into the second half, and I went to sit down, and you know when you have that slow motion, oh no moment?
Yeah.
The little stool, it's got a spring in its middle. So I don't remember what the spring's for, but point is the stool collapsed underneath me. And I ended up on my bum on the floor, wondering what on earth had just happened. And the poor lads on commentary, they're working away on the match, and I'm falling over on the floor next to them. It's like, I just sat there for a minute going, did anyone see that? Please tell me no one saw that. And the second Taylor saw it, he started wetting himself laughing at me. He did help us up. He laughed first, but he did help us up. So yes, that was fun. Embarrassing, but fun. Luckily, it didn't get caught on camera, so no, there's no footage to prove it. Just witnesses.
Hey, you never know. Somebody could have a video out there somewhere. They're just laughing their ass off rewatching it.
Lord, I hope. Do you know what is a part of us hopes not? As long as they don't catch the part where I'm going, oh, insert every not safe for work word here. I must have said every rude word I know in about 5 seconds after that happens. And do I help the lady or laugh? I don't know about helping a lady. I never said I was a lady.
Oh. The tables have turned. Oh, that's awesome. That sounds like what I would say, almost like in a sense, a road story. Would any other road stories you would like to tell us, or you can't maybe expose yet?
Well, it's funny. Road stories. I don't have that many road stories yet because the few times I've sort of gone away for shows, I've travelled up myself. But August coming up next month, that's the first time I'm actually going to have road tripped to a show away from sort of home turf. So that's quite exciting because again, it's me and Taylor. We're road tripping it up there together. He's going to watch, and then we're going straight back home. So this is the first time I'll have done a away trip and come back the same day, which is going to be interesting. I may be dead on the following day. but it'll be worth it for, again, the experience. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all the bonkers sort of stories and moments we'll probably have along the way, because there probably will be quite a few.
Always fun, always fun. And now speaking on wrestling with pride, before I do keep it, the how the turntables, and he said the road trips sometimes end up being the best part.
I look forward to it.
And you have been a part of Wrestling with Pride for a good bit now, because you said you were the commissioner, but then you said you got a promotion up to the general manager's spot. Now, do you want to tell us the difference between a commissioner and a general manager, or is there really no difference?
Still getting used to it. So to be honest with you, the finer points of being a GM, there's probably a bit more involvement, I would say. Sort of commissioner, I would say more, in my experience, behind the scenes, sort of more support for the head honcho. General manager is a bit more involved. So I think it's sort of a step up in terms of involvement. So
Okay.
just reading Matthew's comment.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next Wrestling with Pride show and a beautiful reunion of the Bear Street Boys. Interesting.
Oh my god. Oh, the things you see happening around ringside, like random interactions with the fans and the wrestlers, it can be hilarious sometimes. It really can be.
I have no doubt.
Oh.
Welcome, Christopher Collenberg. Welcome, welcome. Now, you've not been a GM for that long, correct?
New, very fresh.
Okay. Now, what are your favorite and least favorite things as a commissioner?
So lost you again there for a moment.
Favorite and least favorite things as a commissioner.
Ooh, I say favorite things was that taster of being a bit more involved than you would sort of say normally be as an announcer. So I'm trying to think of some of the more favorites. I mean, I think it was the last show in Biker. I think it was the last show in Biker. I think it was back in March, if memory serves me correctly. Was I had to close the show out. Now, I'd never closed the show before. I've opened a few, but I'd never closed the show out, because that has always been Taylor's thing to do, because it's his baby at the end of the day. It was the first time I'd had to close one out. Apparently your left eyebrow's got a fan.
Yeah, okay, so if you've never seen my lives, for some reason, my face is always so up close, even though I'm like away from my camera. But Mr. likes my face to be up so close, but everybody else's face is not. So my face, for some reason, likes to be so close that they only can even see up my nose, my ear, or my eyebrows.
Oh god. Oh, I noticed that. But yeah, I think that was one of my favourite moments, was sort of closing out the last show we did in Baiga for Wrestling with Pride. It was the first time I'd had to sort of emulate the way that Taylor does it, and he does it obviously so well, because as much as it turns out I've been doing this slightly longer than him, he is, at least when I look at him, he looks a lot more confident than I am doing it. I know the confidence level has improved, but still, he always looks so much more comfortable in his own skin doing that. And it was the first time I'd had to do it, and it was terrifying. I was thinking, God, if I mess this up, and I thought, I'm going to trip over my own words, and in the whole time I was speaking, I've got this little sort of voice in the back of my head going, you're going to trip over your words here, you're going to trip over your words. And as much as I was terrified, because a lot of it could have been put down to, at least as far as the fans were concerned, it could have been put down to sort of what had happened as part of the show. So it could have been, as far as they were concerned, a more of a reaction thing, which worked out great for me. So I closes out the show as close as I can to how Taylor would do it, and then I go backstage, just behind the curtains, and he's stood there sort of watching, and this is the first time I've ever seen him do this. He got quite emotional about sort of not obviously strictly what had just happened in the show, but sort of how far it had come in the sort of time that it had been going, and it was such a beautiful moment because it was just the two of us that day, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that, getting to have that moment with somebody, being able to see the effect of what they've built has had on people, sort of how much people have come to love it, and it was, I'm not much of a crier, but I could have cried in that moment. The least favourite, I would probably say, is any time I've got to be. I'll get better at this with time, I'm sure. Is having to be like very in authority, in charge, like in a visual sense. That is quite scary for me. I'm trying to think of the best example. There was a triple threat match going on for the Pride Revolution Championship. I think this back in March. It could have been, where it was Eddie Jade facing off against Nico Astro and Austin Brooks. Now, Austin Brooks had decided he was going to try and steal the title, which was currently resting over my shoulder because I was keeping it safe, as a good commissioner would. And he was going to come and steal it off me to use it as a weapon. And granted, he did get the title off me because I'm not that daft to try and fight someone over it. But he tried to mouth off at me, and I had to stand up and sort of square up to him a little bit. And visually, it was quite fun because we are a similar height. So there wasn't the whole big tall wrestler versus tiny authority figure kind of dynamic going on. We were on eye level with each other, which was brilliant because he didn't expect us to stand up and, at least again as part of the show, I wasn't expected to stand up and get in his face. And I did. And the people loved it. And I was like, these are the moments that I love being around these around shows for, is getting that pop from the fans for something that's going on in front of them. I love it. I'll never tire of it.
That's awesome. Welcome, diehard Hunter Ellis. Hope everything's going well with Strong Style. And as a commissioner, you want to tell us about any tough calls you had to make as a commissioner?
I think the scariest one for me, because again, with a crowd in front of me, I'm great. I'm fine. But when it's me one-on-one versus a camera, kind of like right now, it's quite a different beast altogether. So, for example, Taylor had been assaulted at a show, and I had to put the message out there about, he's out of action for now, and we're gonna something will be done about this. And I had to sort of get that sort of, again, gravitas is probably the wrong word to use, but I had to get the impact of what had happened across. And I was like, I might have done drama at school, but I'm no actress. So having to get that across, I was like, oh, this is going to sound so wooden and terrible. But luckily for me, it worked. So that was probably the most uncomfortable one in the moment to actually do.
Any controversial decision that you made as a commissioner? Did the fans of the locker room turn on you for it?
Not so far. None that I'm aware of. So I haven't been. I haven't had anyone come to me and kick off with me yet. I'm sure there's still time. There's still time for that, especially as GM. So there is still time for that, I'm sure.
Okay. Now, for the GM questions, since this is kind of relatively new, I'll try to word these best I can for you.
Mhm.
What have you been told is your job as GM in and out the ring?
So being more of a sort of authority figure than I may have been previously. That's the sort of the general gist of it. Is being instead of being more of a supporting role to obviously our director, it's been a bit more involved in the sort of authority side of things, which is again something that is a new learning curve altogether because it's not something I've sort of experienced a lot in life or in wrestling. Um, is being sort of anybody's authority figure, which is bizarre. But again, it's something new. It's something new to try, um, and hopefully I can give a good account of myself when the moment calls for it. I hope. I hope.
And what do you think your style is going to be? Are you going to be a heel or face GM, do you think?
Well, keep it neutral. This is the statement I've constantly said about myself over the last few years. I'm Switzerland. I'm neutral. Um, Obviously, everybody has their sort of more preferred people that they are around. But I never try to show. I will, as much as possible, never try to show favoritism because that's just you've got to be balanced to be respected. And if I can do that, then happy days.
Now, we all know that this is baby. I will never deny that. But how much is your decision going to be affecting to like what happens in the ring compared to talent ideas and his ideas?
I will obviously when we're talking creative, or if he wants any of my input creatively speaking, I will always defer to him because I'll have my input. Sure, we've had numerous long talks about things, but I will always defer to him where appropriate because at the end of the day, my input might not be what is the best long term for the product. Does that make sense? So he can always veto anything that I may come out with, or we can work together to say, oh well, that bit's good, that bit maybe not so much. Okay, how can we work that into this bit? And it's it's a good working relationship. It's always a work in progress. It's probably the best way to put it.
Now, what is your way that you're going to book a card? And speaking of that, for those that don't know, Miss Ruby does have a show coming up in August called your Ruby's Birthday Bash.
Ruby's birthday brawl to be perfect. I think it's Ruby's birthday brawl.
Birthday brawl, sorry.
I actually have behind me here. I
Oh,
got this. I got this specially made. Here it is. I got a
show
hoodie
it off.
made
Show it off.
with.
I'll see it after this video when I review it. So I can't see it right now, but the other people that are watching can. Show it off.
Yeah. So what it is because this is the first time I have ever booked a show in my entire, better part of a decade being in and around shows. I have never, officially speaking, booked anything. And this has been a process, to put it delicately. I did get some free rein to make a booking of a few. Of course, I have had a lot of help from Taylor in sort of the structure and the way of putting things together, which has been a huge help. But he's always said it was at the end of the day, it's your show. You run it, and fair enough. I take that bit of responsibility very seriously. On a personal level, this is the first time I've ever had to contact the talent and say, we've got this date available. Are you available? Would really love to have you. And when I said to him, I says, look, my fantasy booking is this particular person. And I told him who it was. He went, go for it. And I had a bit of a slack-jawed moment of being like, really? And so I got in touch with this particular person. they were available for the date. And we did have to change the date a couple of times for numerous reasons. It was originally actually meant to be on my actual birthday, which would have been an amazing way to celebrate turning 40. Then it had to be moved a couple of times and then eventually settled where it is now, the 22nd of August. So I did have to, again, go back and forth with this talent to say, dates changed, are you still available? And we've managed to snag them for another future show as well, which is wonderful. And that's Visage. And I am still mind blown that the first ever booking I've ever actually made was someone at that level, which is, I remember sitting at I was at a train station. I'd just left the day job and I was on my way home and I got the, yes, I'm available for the both dates that we were asking them about. And I just immediately voice noted Taylor and went, dude, we've got Visage. We've got Visage. What's going on? What is this? What is life right now? And his precise response was, yes!
That's awesome.
Still blows my tiny mind every single time. I'm really, really looking forward to sort of what's planned for us. We've got things pretty nailed down now. We're just sort of getting going with all the promotional side of things, which is, again, another massive learning curve in itself. One of which I found myself a lot more involved in than I anticipated to be in terms of actually appearing in things. But again, it's new, it's different, and it's fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it all comes across to the fans. I'm excited to see how it goes on the day. Really excited.
And it's going to be August 22nd, right?
It is indeed, yes. So spot on 3 weeks after its original date. It was originally meant to be August the 1st, and it's now 3 weeks after my actual birthday. So happy days. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's going to be a mad day.
Now, is there anything you would like to tell us, maybe matches that you have booked or wanting to get booked, or are you going to try to save them so you can post out posters for them on the Wrestling with Pride page?
I will definitely be saving that one, so mum's the word there. But yeah, for people who are interested in coming, it's going to be good. It's going to be very, very good. Could be, hopefully, the biggest pull we'll have ever had at Wrestling with Pride, I hope. There's gonna be some absolutely banging matches. Obviously, you've seen the poster already, so you know some of the faces that are going to be on it. But of course, we've never said who's facing who yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing sort of the reaction to matches as and when they go out.
Yeah. All set. And thank you for that. Stay tuned for that, everybody. Ruby's birthday brawl. Let's go. And now, when you're booking a show, and as the GM, I would imagine that'd be a part of your duties for booking matches going forward, not just this birthday brawl, but injuries and no-shows happen. How do you deal with that?
Well, funnily enough, we did have a bit of a, again, we always say cards subject to change. We did have, from the original plan, one change already happen. Hopefully not have too many more issues there, but it was easily sorted. The planned match would have been pretty cool, but the one we've got in its place is just as good. It is equally good in terms of the person, obviously, of course, who was unable to be there and who's stepping in to replace them. It brings a whole different dynamic to the original planned match versus what's planned now. It's a whole different ball game, and I can't wait to see the one that's now going to be happening. See, I think everybody that's on the show, I think it's everybody bar, my goodness, I think one person. There's only one person, luckily, on the show. Again, naming no names. There's only one person that I've not had the honour of working with so far. and I cannot wait to change that in, like you say, just over a month, which is wild when I think about how long ago we originally planned this.
And that's awesome. And as the GM going forward, are you looking to bring in more talent? And is there anybody, like you said, that you have somebody you want to work with? I don't know if you want to reveal that name, but any other name that you like to tell us, or people that you want to bring in that's not worked for Wrestling and Pride?
There's tons. I mean, the inbox is every day. There's new names and new faces wanting to be involved. Which again, it all depends on sort of dates, availability, and all that fun stuff. Um, we had the honour of being one of, and again, it's someone I've been aware of for quite a while, was Priscilla, Queen of the Ring, to be one of their last matches. And that, again, was a privilege to be part of sort of that farewell tour for them. So getting to work again with Visage coming up, again, is an honour because I've been watching them at shows for years and as a fan, and getting to be the other side of the curtain and booking them has, I've had to look back over the conversations we've had and think, that actually happened. I actually got to do that. But there's plenty of promising talent, not just, of course, of the LGBTQ plus sort of spectrum. There's plenty of top talent who actually want to be involved with us. And again, that is something that when we first sort of started out, we knew we could pull some good people. So we had our core sort of people who were around us at the time when we first started, but the expansion of interest has been mind-blowing in terms of how many people want to be involved, and the people who are sort of having to not be turned down because there's not enough space available, because you can't have everybody on every show, of course. But the future is bright, is all I'll say there.
Okay. Now I got two questions left, and one of them is, if you could have a dream match as a general manager, like you versus another general manager, who would it be?
So you mean like, in terms of a booking perspective, like if I could book myself against
Like
each
if
other?
you were facing, like, if you stepped into the ring, what GM would you love to face? Just any GM.
Oh my god. I'm having to think here now. We're talking past or present here, I'm guessing.
We could talk about, you could say one from the past and one in the present.
Ooh, I know I'd get my head kicked in for both of these, and I really would. Would be actually DJ Big, current GM at Imperial, because he would kick the hell out of me. But we've known each other for quite a long time outside of doing shows together. I mean, we've known each other online for, God, about 10 years, and we only actually met in person because of shows and doing them together. So that was a nice little moment there. He would kick the crap out of me. Or if we're talking past ones, again, this is just sort of the ones I've come across, would be Dagon as Strange. That would be fun. That would be so much fun. But again, I'm sure I would end up in a heap on the floor either way. So I am no wrestler. I can't even bump away from a crash mat, because the last time I did, I had my second concussion. Fun times.
Damn.
And that's why I don't wrestle.
Understandable. And my final question that I ask everybody here on the pod: what do you want your legacy to be in pro wrestling? When you're gone from it, when you're retired, what would you want your legacy to be?
just to be remembered as being good at what I did, to not have any negativity associated with who I was and what I did. I'd want to be remembered as being good at the job that I did, to put it bluntly.
Okay. Before we do get off and say our goodbyes, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Oh my lord, I've forgotten my own Instagram handle. Ruby Baker underscore. It's either Ruby Baker underscore PWA, pro wrestling announcer, or it might just be one word, Ruby Baker PWA, because off the top of my head, I think I changed it. So I can't remember which one it is. But search for Ruby Baker, and I've got the Ruby's Birthday Brawl poster as my profile picture, so it's easy to find. On Facebook as Ruby Baker Pro Wrestling Announcer. And I think that's it. I do have TikTok as well, but I don't really post much. I don't post much on there, so I wouldn't bother with that one. But yeah, Instagram and Facebook, I am available on there. So do follow away and join me on the countdown to 500 matches.
Heck yeah. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, thanks again, Ruby. Thank you for coming on the pod, and you're always welcome on anytime. And I can't wait to see what you do next with the birthday brawl, and good luck as GM.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure coming on.
And we hope everybody has a great day. Good night. Good morning. Good evening. Good afternoon. Wherever y'all may be. Peace out.